Hello to all lovers of scary stories. In today's video, I've prepared another 3 scary stories. Comment down below from where you watch and what time it is. Also, subscribing and liking the video will help me a lot. Please use headphones for the best experience. Back to the video. I moved into my grandmother's house 6 months after she died. No one else wanted it. It sat on the edge of town, too far to be convenient, too old to be worth the repair. A 2-story Victorian with flaking green paint, shuttered windows, and a sagging porch that groaned under every step. But it was free, and I was broke. It didn't take long before I realized something was wrong with it. The first few days were uneventful. Cold showers, dust in my lungs, and that strange old house smell that clung to the wallpaper. But it was manageable. I cleaned, I painted, I got used to the creaks and groans. Then, on the 5th night, I heard scratching. At first, I figured it was rats. The place hadn't been lived in for years, and vermin were expected. But the scratching didn't come from the floorboards or the attic. It came from inside the walls, just above my bed. A slow, deliberate dragging. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I banged on the wall. It stopped. That night, I dreamt of my grandmother. She was standing in the hallway, pale and rigid, her mouth stitched shut and her eyes sunken. She raised a bony finger and pointed to the wall behind me. I woke up drenched in sweat. The wall was still. The next morning, I pulled the bed away from the wall and inspected it. Nothing unusual. But when I pressed my ear to the wood, I heard it again, faint, like something shifting in the dark. I called pest control. They came, looked around, and said they couldn't find any signs of infestation. No droppings, no tunnels, nothing. You sure you're not just hearing the pipes? I was sure. That night, the scratching got worse. Not just above my bed anymore. It moved. Across the room, down the hall, then into the walls of the bathroom. Always slow, always dragging, like claws. On the 7th night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor in the hallway with the lights off and listened. Around 2 a.m., I heard it. Not just scratching now. Tapping. Deliberate. Rhythmic. Like communication. 3 slow taps. Silence. Then 3 more. I whispered, "Who's there?" No response. Then something tapped once, directly behind me. I spun around, nothing, just drywall and faded wallpaper. I pressed my palm against it, warm, too warm. I started looking through my grandmother's old boxes in the basement the next day. I needed answers. Most of it was junk. Letters, knitting supplies, photo albums with curling pages, but then I found a wooden box, locked with a tiny rusted latch. Inside was a small stack of yellowed pages and an old leather-bound book titled House of Echoes. I flipped through it. It wasn't a novel, it was handwritten, a journal. My grandmother's handwriting. The walls speak when you sleep. They whisper secrets, regret, hunger. I made a deal in this house. A long time ago. I thought it would bring him back. I was wrong. If you hear it tapping, don't answer, don't speak, don't feed it. The last page was just one word, written over and over again. Sorry. That night, I boarded up the room. Every wall, every vent, I duct-taped the seams. I slept downstairs on the couch. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up to a crash. Something had torn through the wall upstairs. The scratching was back, angrier, faster. Then it stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Until I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Slow. Heavy. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Then I saw it, just a glimpse, a hand, curling around the doorway. Long fingers, yellow nails, skin stretched too tight over knuckles, and a face peeking out. Almost human, but wrong. No eyes, no lips, just smooth skin and a mouth that didn't open but whispered anyway. Let me in. I ran. I spent the night in my car down the street. I watched the house until sunrise. Nothing came out. I called the contractor the next morning and had him inspect the walls. He found something strange in the upstairs room. There's a gap between the inner and outer walls, he said, almost like a crawl space, but sealed off. We found old boards, rope, and he hesitated. And what? Teeth. Human teeth. Dozens of them. I moved out that day. But here's the thing. The scratching didn't stop. Wherever I go, apartment, hotel, even my car, I hear it now, in the walls. I don't know if I brought it with me or if I never really left. Some nights it taps. 3 times, just like before. I don't answer. I don't speak. And I definitely don't feed it. But I know it's still there, waiting. When I booked the cabin, it seemed perfect. Remote, quiet, affordable. Exactly what I needed after the breakup. The listing said, peaceful woodlands retreat. No cell service, no distractions. That was the point. I wanted to disappear for a while. I should have known something was wrong the moment I arrived. It started with the key. There wasn't one. The host, some guy named Derek, messaged me on the app right after check-in time. Door will be unlocked. Let yourself in. The cabin was small, just 1 floor, 2 rooms. The living area smelled like pine and something else. Stale. There was a thin layer of dust over everything, as if no one had been there in a long time. The bedroom had a single bed with clean sheets, a nightstand, and a tall mirror in the corner. I remember closing the door behind me that first night and thinking, it's too quiet. No birds, no insects, just wind in the trees. The weirdness didn't begin until the second night. I was lying in bed reading when I heard a knock. One quick tap on the cabin wall. Not the door, the wall. Behind the headboard. I sat up, heart thumping, listened. Nothing. Then it happened again. Knock, soft, deliberate. I stepped outside with a flashlight, circled the cabin. There was nothing but trees. No signs of wildlife, no footprints, just leaves rustling. I went back inside and tried to shake it off. Just wind, maybe an animal. The third night, it got worse. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. exactly, freezing. The cabin was cold. Much colder than it should have been, considering it was mid-spring. Then I noticed something strange. The mirror. There was condensation on it, like someone had been breathing near it. A smudge, almost in the shape of a hand, but no one else was there. I wiped it, sat on the edge of the bed, listened. Then I heard it again. Knock, but this time, it came from inside the closet. I didn't open the door right away. I stood frozen, listening, hoping I'd imagined it. Then the knob rattled, just slightly, like someone was on the other side trying to be quiet. I yanked it open. Nothing. Just a broom and some shelves. I barely slept. The next morning, I checked my phone. Still, no signal. But when I opened the Notes app, intending to jot down a dream I'd had, there was a file I didn't recognize. Don't look in the mirror. I hadn't written that. I opened it. There was nothing inside except one line. You're not alone in there. I deleted it. Packed my stuff. I didn't care if I'd prepaid for the week. I was leaving. But the car wouldn't start. Battery was fine. Tank was full. It just wouldn't turn over. I went back to the cabin, deciding to sleep one more night and hike out in the morning. That night, everything unraveled. I woke up around 3 again. The room was dark, but the mirror in the corner, was fogged over again. Only this time there was writing on it. 3 words. smeared in the condensation. Still here. Watching. I didn't move. I just stared. And then slowly, something appeared behind my reflection. A face. Gaunt. Hollow-eyed. Its mouth was wide open, but it didn't move. It was just staring. I spun around. Nothing there. I turned back. The face was closer now, and this time, the mouth moved. It whispered, but I couldn't hear anything. I screamed and threw a blanket over the mirror. Then I grabbed my flashlight and bolted outside. I made it about 50 feet before I stopped. The woods were dead silent again. But the cabin behind me, the lights were on. Every room, glowing yellow through the windows. And something moved past the bedroom window. Something tall. I backed away. My breath fogged in the cold. I started hiking down the trail. I don't remember how long I walked, but around an hour later I came upon a clearing. In the center was a house, the same cabin, same size, same shape, same lights. I thought I'd lost my mind. I ran back the way I came, fast, pushing branches away, tripping, falling, panicking, but I ended up in the same place again. I was trapped. The mirror was uncovered again. I approached slowly. My reflection stared back. Normal. Pale. Terrified. Then, behind me, it appeared. Same gaunt figure, eyes hollow. This time, its mouth opened wide and it screamed without sound. The mirror shattered, glass flew everywhere. I fell back, my head hit the floor. I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. The mirror was intact. No broken glass, no fog, no writing. The closet door was shut, the lights were off. And my car started on the first try. I didn't stay. I didn't look back. When I got into town, I asked about the cabin. No one knew anything about a rental out that way. There's no listing anymore. The app said the property was deactivated. Derek's profile was gone. All my messages? Erased. I don't know what happened, but every time I see a mirror now, I hesitate because sometimes, just for a second, I see something else staring back. And every now and then, I wake up at 3:12 a.m. to condensation on my mirror. And the same 3 words. Still here. Watching. When my grandfather passed, I inherited his old farmhouse. It wasn't much, a 2-story wooden structure in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by overgrown fields and a forest that always seemed too quiet. I hadn't visited since I was a child, but I remembered the long summers, the smell of the old wood, and his strict rule, never go into the basement. I always thought it was because of snakes or mold, or maybe he was hiding something, like alcohol during Prohibition. It became a family joke, Grandpa's forbidden dungeon. No one ever pressed him about it. Now that he was gone and the place was mine, I figured I could finally see what was so special about that basement. I arrived on a Friday afternoon. It was raining, the kind of persistent, soft drizzle that makes everything feel heavier. The house looked smaller than I remembered, tucked into a patch of trees like it was hiding. The inside was musty but intact. Furniture draped in sheets, dust hanging in the air, a photograph of my grandfather on the mantel, yellowing and still smiling stiffly. I found the basement door behind the kitchen pantry. It was padlocked. I didn't hesitate. I went into the shed and found bolt cutters. The lock snapped easily. The stairs creaked as I descended. It was darker than I expected. The bulb overhead was weak and flickered when I pulled the chain. The concrete floor was bare. Shelves lined the walls, but they were empty, except for a door. A second door at the very back of the basement. Behind some shelves I had to move was a short, narrow wooden door built into the wall. It was old, older than the rest of the basement, it looked like. No knob, just a thin handle and a deadbolt. It was locked from the outside. That detail stuck with me. I leaned in, ear to the door. Silence. Then I heard it. A knock. One soft knock from the other side. I staggered back, heart in my throat. It could have been the house settling. I told myself that, even as every instinct screamed, "Get out now!" I left the basement, closed the door, and tried to forget about it. That night, I stayed upstairs in what used to be my grandfather's room. It was past 2 a.m. when I heard it again, a knocking sound from downstairs. I sat up, listening. 5 slow knocks. Not on the door, not the walls. It sounded like it was coming from inside the basement. I didn't go down. The next morning, I convinced myself it was a dream. I busied myself cleaning the house, throwing out old papers and photos. But that evening, I found something in my grandfather's desk. A journal. Most of it was mundane. Notes about weather, the crops, my grandmother before she died, then several entries in darker ink, shakier handwriting. July 14. It's louder now. I don't know how it got down there. August 2nd. I made the mistake of opening the door. I didn't see it, but it saw me. August 17. It whispered last night, said my name. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep it locked. September 3rd. I thought about burning the house down, but what if that lets it out? What if it spreads? The last entry was from a week before he died. It's not human. It remembers. It waits. If you're reading this, leave. Don't open the second door. Don't answer when it knocks. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Then the knocks came again. 6 this time. Deliberate. Even. I didn't move. I don't know why, but I whispered aloud, "Who's there?" And I heard something move. Underneath. A dragging sound. Slow, as if something was shifting on the basement floor. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I went downstairs with a flashlight and a hammer. I told myself I was going to seal the basement off. But when I opened the basement door, the padlock was back. Brand new. Heavy. Shiny. Definitely not the broken one I'd cut. I hadn't replaced it. I stepped back, locking the kitchen door behind me. I needed to get out. When I checked my car, the battery was dead, completely drained. I hadn't even used it. I was stuck. And when I went back into the house, the basement door was open. Just slightly. I didn't go down. I shut it and dragged a bookshelf in front of it. But that night, I dreamed of a door in a dark place. And behind the door, something was breathing, wheezing, waiting. On the third night, I didn't bother going to bed. I sat in the kitchen with a knife and a candle, listening to the wind through the trees. Then I heard it. A voice. Not loud, not harsh. It was familiar. "It's me. Let me in." It was my grandfather's voice, coming from the basement. I froze. He was dead. I'd seen his body. I went to the funeral. "Please, it's so dark down here." The voice was cracked, sad. But I didn't move. I whispered, "You're not him." And then came laughter. Soft, low, like someone chuckling in the dark. Smart. This time. I didn't sleep. I waited for dawn. When light broke, I packed what I could and left the house on foot, hiking to the main road. A neighbor eventually picked me up. I didn't explain. I just said I was done with the house. I never went back. I sold the property to a developer 2 months later. I didn't mention the basement. They demolished the house. But during the teardown, something happened. According to the report, a worker broke through a wall in the foundation, found an older structure beneath the basement, an underground room sealed in concrete. Inside were scratches along the walls, a rusted chain bolted to the floor, and bones, human bones, dozens of them. They never identified them. Some were very old. The company paved over the area, built a gas station on top. But I don't stop there when I drive through that part of the state, because every now and then, someone reports strange sounds from the storage closet in the back. Knocking. And sometimes, a voice that says, "It's me. Let me in."